Good morning and welcome. I know everyone's looking at mobile service in 2026, so we're going to talk about mobile service. I think at the end of the day, you should be looking at service as a great way to grow your business, being that auto sales is probably a little more competitive than it was historically. We have a panel on that has a lot of experience in mobile service and also in retail in general. If you haven't already watched it, I dropped an interesting interview that I did on Friday of last week in person with the CEO of Go Automotive. If you don't know Go Automotive, they have 70 locations. So if you're interested in learning from someone who has a few locations, Jared was a really interesting interview in his office. It is live now, so you can definitely check it out. And we also have a great panel on today. Looks like we'll have few people joining us that are tardy. That's okay. So we're going to start with Amit, since he was the first one to join this morning. So Amit, please introduce yourself and tell us why dealers need to lean in on mobile service in 2026, in your opinion.
Yeah, sure. Good. Good to see you. My name is Amit Chandarana. I'm the CEO of Curbee. The reason they need to lean in, I think it's already sort of heading that way. I think we're seeing a lot of articles. I think we're seeing a lot of traction. Certainly, as a mobile service provider in this space, we're getting a lot of phone calls. But it sort of solves problems for dealers today, whether or not it's shop capacity, lower numbers in retention, completing more recalls, or just simply go ask 10 of your friends of whether or not you'd rather go to the dealership or have a dealership come to you. So I think those are some of the real reasons that dealerships are leaning in right now, and so are the OEMs too.
Fantastic. Yeah, actually, we were talking in an interview on Friday about comparing restaurants and car dealers, that it usually takes 3 to 5 visits for a restaurant to capture you as a customer. And if you're not focused on that service piece after the sale, I think you've got a pretty high percentage chance of losing that customer because someone else will service that car. Let's go with David next. David, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about, what's your opinion on mobile service?
Well, thanks for the invite. I'm David Lampel, the CEO and founder of DealerWing. And I think when it comes to mobile service, I think it's very telling when you see the OEMs moving in a direction where they are incentivizing their dealers to adopt mobile service across the board. The realization is that convenience is the number one factor driving consumer behavior when it comes to vehicle servicing across the board. And the more convenient that you can make it, the easier you can make it for the customer to get that work done, the more the work is going to be done, as opposed to be putting off time and time again. Convenience comes in the form of being able to meet them at their place of business or meet them at their home to get the work done that they need to get done. And also there's other conveniences with respect to paying over time and different things that the service departments are adopting across the board. It is something that isn't going to go away. As the months and years progress, it's going to become more and more of a crowded field. And the early adopters and the people that jump on board initially are going to be the ones that profit the most from it. And the last point I want to mention on that is, if you are going to jump into it, you've got to make sure that all of your customers know that it's available, and all your potential customers know that it's available, because if they don't know, it's never going to happen. So there's several parts to it that need to be executed in order for it to become a valuable part of your service department, but it absolutely is going to be needed as the days, months, and the years to come. That's the way that the segment is moving, and it isn't going to stray from this point forward.
Fantastic. Mr. Dice. So I guess I have the question, is it no dice if you have no mobile service? What do you think?
Of course it's no dice if you don't have any service. Come on now, you know better. Very, very simple. I mean, obviously, to pair it on David and Amit, realistically, this is a convenience factor for our clients. It's been a huge uptick on retention and pulling people back that have defected away from the brands. A lot of people leave the brands because they're just unhappy they are, obviously, with the dealership service. So this has opened up capacity on the shop side as far as being able to bring people in for repairs that are absolutely needed and take care of those maintenance items, those recalls, those, that low hanging fruit that you would see from the dealer side at the, their place of business or at their home, or if they're at the grocery store, maybe they're at a ballet lesson. You got to be very, very creative to make this work. But if you're half in, half out, it won't be successful. You got to be in on mobile service. You actually have to absolutely push into it and understand that it's a huge convenience factor for the client, and they'll be extremely happy and come back and see you. So the people that have defected out of the brand that we, contact and we say, hey, we're going to come to you to do this recall, we have now earned them back because of just how great that customer service portion has been. And they just come back and see us, and we find something during the inspection, and we have to get that taken care of. So if you're not in on mobile service, you're missing out, and you're actually missing out on huge capacity lifts inside your shop. So
fantastic. Peter, what do you think? Servicing at a dealership, servicing mobile. What do you think?
I love mobile service. I think it is one of the biggest benefits the dealers are going to have today, because they all need to reach out to customers, and they need to make it easier for the customer. It's all about the customer experience. And if you can service a customer and do some repairs on their driveway at their office, it adds that level of convenience, where you're going to build a deeper relationship with the customer. And I think it's going to be a great way for them to lock in the customer relationship and to continue to grow. So I love mobile service. One of my favorite topics to talk about.
Fantastic. Larry, what do you think? Would it be a benefit to get your car serviced at your office or at your house? Versus...
Absolutely. Ian, I've noticed, and hi, everybody. I've noticed that all the Dunkin' Donuts around my house have closed if they don't have room for a drive-through. Man, convenience is everything these days. Everybody doesn't like, hey, Ed Roberts, how are you, sir? Everybody doesn't like Amazon, but everybody, when they need something quick, hits the button, right? So getting cars, doing mobile service, Ed will tell you, he's smiling from ear to ear, that it's the only way to go. And if you don't do it, you're going to be left behind. It's not only the wave of the future, I think it's here now. It's a huge benefit.
So, Mr. Roberts, what do you think? Introduce yourself, but also tell us a little bit more about why mobile service. We were talking a little bit more about how you don't have any dice if you don't have mobile service.
So why mobile service is because we've forced our customers for decades to do business with us on our terms. And as I came home, we was talking about Amazon, and they're 100% about doing business on our own terms. And that's for how we have to meet our customers. We have to meet our customers on their terms and do business with them how they want us to do business with them. And it's never coming into our facility, whether it's whatever you want to call it, Taj Mahal, state of the art, rat hole, barn sitting out back. It's never those things. It's they want to make it convenient, and the highest level of convenience is like as if it never happened. And we can show up with mobile services as if it never was an obstacle.
So, I mean, I know dealers don't like change sometimes, and I don't know if that's good or bad or ugly, but how difficult is it? Like, how hard is it for a dealer to get started? What do you think? I mean, you've been doing it a while. Was it difficult?
We look at it as being difficult because it's change, but it's not difficult. It's commitment. Once you make the commitment to do it, then it's just pushing through and getting it done. But when we resist something and we face the challenges of change, as soon as we run into resistance, we throw a towel in. And that's the time where we should be embracing it and saying, okay, what can I learn from this? Because that resistance is the resistance that our customers go through. And so we're removing that resistance on our side from them.
So, Mr. Dice, what do you think? Is it difficult?
I think if you have the wrong crew that doesn't embrace, obviously, the customer experience and customer convenience, it can absolutely be difficult. we started off kind of split between a Ford and a Lincoln store, doing pick and delivery and mobile service. And we didn't really embrace it initially off the bat. We thought it was going to be one of those just, especially on the Lincoln side, it was just a convenience factor, customer service, CSI booster, really. We've taken on 5 vans and we've pushed into having a separate coordinator. And that's kind of really helped the advisors kind of just buy in with allowing the coordinator to handle everything else, basically the minutia in between, right? And we've elevated it to about 550 mobile events in a month, which is huge. And a lot of those people, they're defectors of the brand, and we're bringing them back in, and we're obviously servicing those people and making them happy, and they wanted to come see us because they hadn't been with us for so long. They didn't realize this change. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. You have to talk about it. Is it hard? Absolutely. The processes, changing the processes and having the advisor used to say, answering the phone, hey, are you calling for an in-shop or at-home service? I mean, that right there throws them through a loop, right? And then they're like, what do you mean you can do it at home? So is it hard initially? Sure. Is it worth it in the long run? Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, Amit, I mean, obviously you talk to dealers a lot about mobile service. I mean, did they say, it's just too hard? I'd just rather stick with my coffee and donut. What do you think?
I think it was Ed earlier who said something to the effect of, or somebody said it was dealers, and I think humans in general find change hard, right? I mean, try to take a different route home today or tomorrow. What's the hardest part of going to the gym? It's getting dressed. So I think we have 2 ICPs in the world, or ideal customer profiles. There are dealers that need it because of all those reasons, right? Recall completions, right? Shop capacity, just customer convenience, for those reasons. And those folks need a kickstart. They need a jump start to get up and running. So they need to hear from the panel. They need to hear from partners that we have this playbook and it can be operationalized and support. Everybody needs it. By the way, I've done this in digital retailing. I remember calling on dealers as a factory rep. This happened when CRMs came out. This happened when websites came out, then digital retail, then AI, and conversational commerce. But ultimately, we all catch up. And then you have these dealers. I know we work with some of the folks at the Phil Long group, and there's already dealers that are doing mobile service, and they just sort of need some tools to operationalize it, whether or not it's ours or any of the other ones out there. But they need some infrastructure around that. And you wouldn't do that to your dealership when it comes to selling vehicles. You wouldn't do that to the uniforms. You wouldn't do that to the coffee machine. Everything seems to have a bit of infrastructure. And I think one of the things that's taking place with mobile service now is we're starting to cross that chasm of infrastructure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously when you first started delivering vehicles remotely, that was probably a big deal. And people now deliver vehicles all over North America. So I think that's definitely change is possible, but more importantly, it's part of it. I mean, moving from a clipboard to a computer was probably a big change too. What do you think, David?
Well, I think, to echo what everybody else said, change is going to be resistant across the board. I mean, it's just in the nature of everybody to stay with what they know and what they're comfortable with across the board. I was just up at Paragon, and as many cars as Paragon sells up in Queens, New York, there's no space. They can't get any customers in there. Everything that they do is at a necessity, and they built out their mobile platform, a mobile service platform, completely out of necessity because they just can't handle the traffic. That isn't the case for all of dealers. Some dealers have a huge showroom and a big lot, and they don't necessarily need it. But here's the thing that I wanted to add to this, and that is whether you are doing it out of necessity because you just don't have the room and you want to acquire these customers, or if you have plenty of room at all. The dealership world has always been at a disadvantage to the independent shops. And when dealers lose customers, rarely do they lose them to other dealers. Statistics show that most of the customers, if they defect, are going to independents across the board. So if most of the customers are going to independents across the board, and you're a dealership and you're trying to find an edge, what's my edge? Well, yes, you have a big showroom and you have a big, and you have all these amenities in your lounge. That's all great, but they're right around the corner. And you can't fight being right around the corner. So if you want to get that edge back, The one thing that we can do as dealers, or you can do as dealers, is we can go to them. We have the capacity, we have the ability to put your mind to it and the resources to it to go to the customer. The independents are not going to be able to do that. So you want to take back some leverage and you want to take back the edge across the board, that's the way to do it. That's an area that they can't fight you on. Most of the independents don't have the ability or the resources to do anything like that. So if you can go to the customer where he's at on his own terms, that is probably one of the biggest advantages that you have and one of the biggest incentives that you have to overcome all of the fears and I can't do this and how do we do it and I don't like change. When you put it in those perspectives with respect to grabbing those customers back from the independents by using a built-in edge that you have across the board, I don't think there's any comparison.
Yeah.
Hey,
100%.
David, you also turn what's an inconvenience into a convenience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Jimmy John's. No one's freaky fast or something like that for delivery. I mean, I think that was before they had these delivery food services. It was like, yeah, we'll just deliver it. Like, we don't care. And that was a question from the audience, which is, what's the upside? I mean, I know change is hard, but what's the upside? Like maybe, Ed and Mr. Dice can talk a little bit about what the upside was after you implemented it. So whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
I'll roll that first. The upside, for one, is I want to take better care of my customers than anybody else will. But that's intangible. You can't necessarily measure that. But what you can measure is the brand loyalty that you get from it, and and that's what I look for. We all chase that conquest customer, that one that we want over from somebody else, but we never necessarily chase the ones that we already have. And only 60% of them is going to be loyal to the brand. The other 40% are constantly moving around. Well, I want to move that 60% number from a brand loyalty standpoint to a 95% piece. And maybe say, well, I shouldn't move it to 100. Well, sometimes I don't have the product that now fits where they're at in life. I don't, for the season that they're in. But it's this brand loyalty, 100% for me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mr. Dice. What do you think?
I mean, the conquest piece is huge. Obviously, trying to get people back into the Ford brand. So I service any make and model. In fact, I'm servicing a couple of tractors later this week. Not vehicles, not automobiles, but I'm going to go after the tractor business as well because we have some opportunities there. There's a lot of places that are doing ATVs. So if you can think outside the box that you can do something, you can absolutely do it. So the biggest drive for us initially was customer satisfaction. We're absolutely going to go after the customer satisfaction piece. We've won President's Award at Lincoln 3 years in a row, and Ford 5 of the last 7 years. So a lot of it is customer satisfaction piece for us. And then obviously pulling people back into the brand that maybe have left us. We've got the cornerstone on the Ford market here in our town. We own both Ford dealers, and we have a new Ford Pro Center, which I'm housed out of. And the Ford Pro Center with the commercial stuff is where mobile is actually taking off the most due to the ease of convenience for each business. So that's our biggest driver, is going after the business fleets and being able to do it at their lots on their time after work hours, extended hours, and kind of opening up that avenue for revenue for us. So
yeah, fantastic. I mean, years ago I sold some cars to a city fleet, and they had probably, I don't know, a couple thousand different vehicles. Clearly, some of them needed service, I'm assuming. I mean, there were all kinds of different things, like things I've never seen, but it was interesting. David, what do you think on, the upside?
Well, I mean, the upside, as we said, if the retention is always going to be a huge part of all of the manufacturers' measurements across the board. It's the biggest and most important thing. And if they're allowing the dealers to go out and serve their customers away from the dealership, and they're going to count them as retained customers that are going to be considered retained customers, then I think all of the dealers are going to need to play in that sandbox. And, the only way that you're going to get those back, there was a mention about conquest. At DealerWing, one of the measurements that we have, there's conquest is absolutely an integral part of each person's marketing and who they need to be going after. But all of our metrics show that the customer fall off and the customer defection from the dealers, people that were coming to the store previously that aren't coming anymore, is a far greater number across the board, especially when you go 3 years plus and they're out of the manufacturer's warranty. So being able to identify those people and to find out why they were coming and they're not coming anymore. And if you have a solution where they don't have to quote unquote come because they're not under warranty anymore, and the only ones that can do the warranty are the dealerships, is another huge area of opportunity for the dealers. And to the same point is these people are already in your DMS. They already know the way to the store, but they're choosing not to come. So going meeting them on their terms, you're going to have a lot more success, and you're also going to have a lot more potential opportunity for people that were there, that were visiting you during warranty times, and now that the warranty's over, they are no longer around.
100%. Amit?
Ian?
Yeah, go ahead.
And one of the things too, we haven't really touched on, but Toyota is doing this, and I think a lot of manufacturers are going to go towards this, but Toyota is putting a lot of focus on their Toyota retention score. And for Toyota dealers, there's an even bigger challenge, because if you don't have a high retention score, it actually affects your allocation of vehicles. And one of the things I like about mobile service is it helps you retain those customers, because again, it gives that ability where you make it convenient for them. I mean, you've got manufacturers like Toyota that literally is penalizing their dealers if they don't do a good job. Mobile service is a tremendous tool for helping improve that retention of your customers.
100%. Amit, go ahead.
Yeah, I think some hard stats on some of the things that were commented on. Right, I was just going back and looking at the numbers. We talked about the independents. Right, there's 301,000 independents compared to 18,300 new car dealerships with service centers. So that ratio is 16 to 1. And you're hearing a lot about that out there in the ecosystem, that there's a ratio of 16 to 1. So if we simplified this and just broke it down to say, when you leave your house, between your house and the nearest franchise dealership, there's 16 choices. And sometimes we use this line a lot with car dealers. And I think I've spoken to Ed about this. Ed, are you 16 times better than the guy down the street? Are you 16 times cheaper? Are you 16 times more convenient? Or do you make people 16 times easier? And if you can't answer those questions, yes, then just know that you have an opportunity to lose those customers. And the type of work we're referring to, we've ran this opcode, and Brian Benstock talked about it last week. We've ran this to the analysis of our platform. About 37% of what is done at a car dealership can be done in the field. It's gonna shake a little bit each side, right? Some dealers may only do 25, 30% if they're using a used Corolla with Starlink on there. I think at Ed and maybe Dyson stores, you guys probably can do tire changes, and clearly tractors now too. So clearly you're breaking the mold on some of these types of repairs. But I think it's important to sort of ground ourselves in some of the data, because I think when you talk to dealer principals and general managers or anybody at the dealership, the data drives it. But then again, I always go back to the simplicity of it. Most customers just want that simplicity.
100%. I think I like that number, 16 to 1. And I would say that, yeah, your biggest threats are the independent dealers. I remember years ago, I was working with a General Motors store, and they actually hired an independent dealer to come in and train their guys on tires. And I don't think they knew this, but he owned like 24 independent service stations. And he said, my target is 80% retention. At the time, General Motors, it was 40%. So it was kind of interesting.
You remember when I was a field rep, they had these events when I was calling on Toyota dealers called Dare to Compare.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody remembers those, but
yeah.
You had your pricing, and then you had, because it's a perception of price, right? Then you had the price for all the local independents, and you had the Jiffy Lubes and the Big Years and things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, something as simple as tires, which is a huge retainer of customers, that some dealers are like, yeah, I don't make any money. But the reality is everyone needs tires at one point or another. Larry, what do you think?
Give me 1 second here, my buddy. Sorry about that. Trying to make a deal while I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about how screwed up our industry is, and I was a dealership owner, now I'm a vendor. I'm all over the country. The fact that we pay people for CSI, shouldn't every salesperson and every service person realize that if you kiss people's butts and make them feel great, they're going to come back and you're building your own business? I've always been a freak for making every salesperson go back to service and say, if I'm lucky enough during your business, these are the really nice folks that are going to be working on your car. And by the way, we're just as inexpensive as any tire place or oil change place, but you never void your warranty because we're an authorized dealer, we use factory parts. You've got to make this as simple for customers and as possible, as easy as possible. Ed, I am a recruiter, okay? And I'm not super expensive, but I'll tell you what, it's definitely much cheaper to keep the people you have, whether they're techs or salesmen or parts people or title clerks, than to get new ones. So we need to understand that we got to keep everybody in the dealership happy, but we got to really keep the customers happy. And everybody today is impatient. People freak out, David, when it takes 5 extra seconds for their computer to boot up. I think there's going to be a shooting one day in a McDonald's drive-thru because somebody didn't get their fries quick enough. So to be able to say to somebody, we will come to you. You're locking them in. You're making it easy. I just can't believe at this point that not every dealer is rushing to put these procedures in place, because it's like I said, it's not coming. It's here. Yeah. People want to not be inconvenienced. I think you already have it with some of the luxury brands where it's built in. Genesis, I think that it's set up that they come to you, they pick you up, they drop you off. Anybody that's not doing it is going to be really, really sorry, I think. So it's not even really, I mean, we're debating and just discussing how to do it and where and when, but I think at this point, if it's not mandatory, I think you're in trouble.
Fantastic. So I know we talked before on this topic on the pay plan side, but I had another question around range. So if I'm a dealership, like what kind of range, like distance can I service? Like what's your opinion there? I guess I'll start with Mr. Dice on that. What do you think? Like how far away could you service?
I think that's really going to depend on the dealership and their demographic, right, around them and what they really decide. When I was at the Lincoln store, I just said, hey, because our units in operation were so low, we were trying to gain traction on the sales end. I committed just the whole state of Colorado. I really didn't care. I'd go anywhere. If I had to go to Fort Collins, which is a 2.5-hour drive, so be it. I mean, at that point in time, we're going to figure out how to make it efficient on the way up there, meaning, hey, we're going to have a couple stops before maybe we get to that customer all the way up in Fort Collins, and maybe somebody's that's coming back. But that comes down to efficiencies and the people that's doing the pick or the mobile service and or pick and delivery actively working that schedule and being that person, that coordinator that actually makes that day efficient for the technician. So it really kind of just depends. Right now we're down to 5 vans. We have a 6th one coming, which will be more of a floater to fill in those oddball appointments, but we're just trying to keep it isolated to certain days where we have maybe a 5 or 10 mile radius for each van. So we try to keep the appointments as tight as possible. We're trying to get 5, 6, 7, 8 appointments in a day, versus if you did it like I did at Lincoln, which was mainly a CSI booster. I mean, you're handling maybe 1 or 2 people in a day, and it's not very efficient. It won't be very profitable, but it will help boost your customer retention. It will help boost your CSI. So it really just kind of depends on your demographic. I think the dealership, obviously, in Queens, New York, they leaned hard into pick-up and delivery. I know they leaned hard into mobile service. They have no space. I believe it's a Honda store, if I'm correct. And they absolutely kill it. Every time I've seen their numbers, I just was like, I'd love to aspire just to pick somebody's brain up there for just a little bit. But the way that they do business is absolutely going to be different than the way I do business. I mean, they're in a metropolitan, very tight, area, and I'm in a city that's absolutely spread out between the mountains up in Woodland Park or Cripple Creek, all the way out to Rush, Colorado, and the plains. So, I mean, I could have a drive time of 20 to 30 minutes to the next customer, versus, in Queens, they just might have to just back the car up 10 feet, so.
Fantastic. Ed, what do you think on range? Like what's your thinking?
So he hit it out of the park there. It depends on the situation. It depends on where you're at. And will we travel? We've traveled several hundred miles a few times, and we'll do it again. as a rule, you got to have an outline of where can we get instantaneous, and our people need to know how far we'd go and wherever. And I would challenge some of the smaller stores. It's a little bit easier for us to go 47, or we got 47 vans to go out, because some of those vehicles don't even need to bring here. They can just leave from their home and go take care of those customers, depending on the situation and what needs to be done. But for some of the ones that maybe doesn't have that luxury, on one day of the week, you go north and set a guideline of that. So you're not zigzagging back and forth. Another day of the week, go south. And that's where Amit and the technology that he has really helps out, because it'll do that route optimization for us. And if we sit here and decide, well, for some of us to go 30 miles, it may take us 2 hours. But for some of us to go 30 miles, it's a 25-minute hike. And will I do a 25-minute hike? Yes. So I won't necessarily give you a mileage range. It's got to make sense. And but what I will tell you is, if I can't do it with a mobile unit, I'll do it with pickup and delivery. And it's the same thing. It's all makes, all models, because that is my conquest. When we can offer a higher level of service than the 16 other service departments around them and the brand that they're currently doing business with, then I become the top of mind brand that comes to mind when it's time to replace that my brand vehicle.
Fantastic. And now a quick word from our sponsors.
If you look at the last 4 years again, we've answered 41 million phone calls for dealers over the last 4 years with our AI platform. We've also handled over 150 million text messages. And so when you look at just those raw numbers, that's a 4-to-1, 3.5, 4-to-1 text to phone call. So I don't know. Here's what I can tell you, though. I believe that the customer wants to be met where they are presently. If that is text, voice, video call, if they want to be engaged instantly.
I'm Vince Delmonico, General Sales Manager with Cruise Ford Lincoln. Larry Feldman came out and did one of our training courses. Absolutely incredible. I sat through the course myself. The engagement that our salespeople gained from it, the excitement that he brings, it was a new way of looking at things that we're already doing and how we can improve them. Love it. It's literally the best thing since sliced bread.
My name's Fareed Ahmed. I'm the founder and CEO of DSMA. So why should you use DSMA to sell your most valuable asset? The answer is very simple. It's our unparalleled approach to our clients' needs and satisfaction. Remember, DSMA, we're real people doing real deals.
Meta, Instagram, social, and your team is still waiting for ups like it's 1999. Let's be honest. Your market isn't watching TV commercials. They're double tapping and engaging with your competitors on social media posts. People are shopping these days for cars and servicing their vehicles in between watching cat videos.
There you go. So, Amit, I know we talked a little bit about range. You work with a few dealers. How do you handle that discussion with range? How does that look?
Yeah, even the term range, right? There are some markets that deal in miles. In Southern California, we deal in minutes. There are a lot of dealers in California. There are a lot of dealers in Dallas, Texas. There's a lot of dealers in New York that don't care how many miles away it is. It depends on how many minutes. So let me just give you a very specific example. The success team, which is the field team at Curbee, works with every single dealer, to Ed's point earlier, and we build what's called geofences. And so you don't use drops of a pin and radiuses. You just build an actual geofence that allows you to say, we're going to go to the northeast corridor on Tuesdays. And then the tire vans are going to go to the southwest corridor on Wednesdays. And then each of those things are built out so that you can draw the shapes in any direction. You can draw S's, you can draw Z's, you can draw squares or circles. And I think that's the level of sophistication that you have to get to so that you are efficient, so that you can route optimize. Don't get me wrong, that sounds like a burden, and it can become a burden at some point if you don't use something. Otherwise, you end up with like sticky notes and spreadsheets and Google Maps and things like that, and whiteboards that look like what's going on behind me. But you do have to be thoughtful. And then there's a lot of data out there. Let me give you some practical examples. Every single OEM rep comes in with a service retention report. They come in with urban science data. They come in with lost customers. They come in where your coupons were used. Use all those data pieces to build your geofences so that you're not just throwing darts at that map and you've got some level of sophistication. But if you have to start the day after your software gets installed or the day after you buy a van, start with 5 miles, start with 10 miles, Start with 15 miles and just know your market, because you do know your market better.
Fantastic.
Ian,
Yeah.
one of the common threads in the conversation is about this whole target, but one of the key things and Larry mentioned that quickly, is letting everybody know that you have this. Mobile service is critical, but if you want to be successful, I'm running on my marketing now for a second. The more people know, the fact that you have the salespeople walking them back into the service is great, but you also need to mention we have a whole mobile service. If I was selling cars today, one of the things I would use as a sales tool to make that sale is to let people know, look, we have the best service department in town, and we have a mobile fleet. So if something happens to your vehicle, there's a good possibility, Mr. Customer, you won't have to bring it in. We're going to send somebody out to your dealership and take care of it for you. It's all about that customer experience. But you need to be talking about in your marketing, your direct mail, your email, everything you do. It needs to be everything out there. We have this big mobile service, because if you get the people coming, now the location and the distance area kind of falls into place, because now looking at the software, okay, well, hey, we're going to be going up north this week. So how many people can we fit on the schedule up north? Well, if you got a lot of people coming, it's really easy to start filling the schedule. So a lot of this drives right back into the marketing and letting everybody know about what you're doing, because it is a major advantage for the dealership, but I don't think a lot of dealers are talking about it. And I think they're missing that opportunity.
Peter, it should be on everybody's website, and they should have a giant sign or a little thing on each service advisor's desk. It's just amazing how people forget what's available to them, and this is too vital.
100%. David?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's my sweet spot with DealerWing. Is we're seeing a lot more mobile advertising. We've been doing a lot of pickup and delivery for those that can't, that don't have the vans to do that. You can do one or the other. And if the customers, there's no chance that the customers are going to change their habits unless you let them know that there's another option. I mean, you're going to need to let them know that there's another option. It's almost like sitting at home and waiting for somebody to knock on your door to buy something from you. I mean, they're just not going to come in that way. They've already proven that they've already defected, or their scheduled time for returning to the store has lapsed. So you're going to need to give them some incentive, and incentive can be in the form of discounts, but it can also be in the form of services and convenience. And that's what this entire show is about, and letting them know exactly what's available, what the parameters are, how to schedule, what can be done. Immediately takes a lot of that power back that they have given to some of the independents. And as I mentioned before, a lot of the stores are including that in their marketing, in their communications, not just on the website, which absolutely it should be, to Larry's point, but also in any of your external communications that, hey, this is available. I know with Paragon, they have a pickup and delivery on every single piece of marketing that they do, no matter what it is. They are pushing pickup and delivery. For them, having vans and going out there isn't as easy, so they do both.
Yeah. And
to the point with respect to distance, I mean, they can't go 5 miles. 5 miles could take them an hour and a half. And so, I've got stores that do pick up and delivery, not mobile, pick up and delivery that are 100+ miles away. Yeah. Because it's where they're located, it's where the business is. So you've got to go where the business is. You've got to let the people know, and you've got to let them, you need to let them in on all of the aspects of how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, what's available, and how it's going to benefit them. It's really not hard to sell. It's an easy sell, but they need to be aware across the board, or it's never going to work.
Well, I always think of those guys who used to do knife sharpening. I don't know if those guys still exist, where they go around a neighborhood and sharpen knives. And it was like, is there business there? I don't know, but they're clearly doing that. So, I mean, I guess the other question is, how do you pay mobile service? I mean, I know this came up on the last mobile service show we did. Ed, you want to start on that, or you had a comment on David's thought on the pickup delivery?
Well, I want to piggyback on that for a moment.
Yeah.
I mean, we started this talking about how many of us use Amazon. How many of you would delete your Amazon app and go to Walmart this afternoon? You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is introduce mobile service to our customers, because once they experience it once, they never want to go back. Do they know what it is? No, there's nothing about the word Amazon that tells you what they do. And quite frankly, there's nothing about mobile service that really tells them what we do. We think that people knows what mobile is or whatever else, but it's about introducing it to them. It's about showing them what it is. So for every one of us out here that's listening to this, we're mostly all new franchise car dealers. It's the first service appointment. Schedule that first service appointment for every vehicle you sell, new and used, and introduce your highest level of service to your customer that may not have never experienced it before. That is your selling point just to get started. Then you continue to layer it in from there. But you guys aren't going to delete Amazon. They will not go back to anything else. Once they experience, they'll be ready for it. And yes, I want you to embrace pickup and delivery. But also, what pickup and delivery does not do is it does not handle the capacity constraints. We all face capacity constraints in our shop, and pickup and delivery does not cover that for us. Adding mobile service gives us additional capacity. So we hit it from multiple angles. And then going back to pay, it's a different service than what we do in field and what we do in the dealership. But we're locked in this dealership world on percentages. Well, I can assure you percentages does not pay bills. Gross dollars pays bills. So I'll take 60% of a handful rather than 70% of one. So it's about volume. And when we look at it from that lens, yes, we're going to pay someone for windshield time. So whether you pay them by the mile or minute or whatever it is out there, you have to look at it differently, but you cannot compare it to what we do in the shop. You have to devise a different pay plan that pays differently. And it was talked about earlier about paying for CSI. I don't think we should pay for CSI. We have devised pay plans to take care of our customers. And then we're going to say, well, if you take care of them at an above average level, I'll even pay you more. Well, that should be an expectation. And mobile service is the expectation of taking care of our customers at the highest level. And so, yes, we got to look at it through a different lens. We have to throw a percentage out the window when we do that. We sell vehicles at a loss, and we sell vehicles that we may have made 8 or 10 or 12% off. And it takes both for everything to work out. Same way here. You need that 70% stuff that happens in your shop, but you also need that 60% stuff that you got to chase down through the windshield out there to expand our capacity and reach the customers that would hit some of those other 16.
That's a great answer. Love that answer. Mr. Dice, what do you think? You can answer all those questions or whatever you want to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, the first part that, going after the people, obviously the marketing side that Peter was talking about. There's definitely a movement there that you have to promote your business. You have to let people know what's going on with mobile service. We assume people know about it, but there's even the grassroots movement. I mean, we every time we're in a neighborhood, we put a door hanger on everybody else's house that is a non-Ford that literally says, "Hey, we'll come do your oil change for you." Or in the backside, it says "Pick up delivery," and you get 10% off if you want to do pick up delivery. So we're grassroots. It isn't beneath us. It takes a little bit of effort, but you pay your people to go hand out some cards, put them on the houses, have your people buy into it, and it will organically start growing. So that's the big push on our end. We also call every single one of our customers after the fact from sales. The sales to service handoffs, let's be real, I think that's been completely ignored for the longest time. Good stores absolutely do it, but the service department really kind of has to take the reins on that. Don't worry about the sales department walking them over. You kind of have to just call the people that just bought the new vehicles, whether it's fleet or retail. You have to call them. You have to let them know what the heck you're doing, and that's your opportunity to schedule that first service, right? Whether it's in shop or mobile. My suggestion is mobile, obviously, because you want to promote that, right? Ed was spot on as well as far as the pay type. I mean, you can pay them flat rate, but you better pay them a drive time. You better pay them windshield time. You better figure out how to build that in your model, or else you're gonna have a carousel of mobile techs, unfortunately, and you're never gonna gain traction with it. So we pay absolutely based off of windshield time. Even if it's 8 repair orders at the same place, we'll pay windshield time for all 8 repair orders, just to make sure that they have a steady day and they have a steady income, because ultimately we're investing in them. I have some stuff on the back end that Peter's well aware of that I'm not going to let out of the bag here yet until I figure out how to get it to work. But bottom line is I'll let a snippet. I'm going to give you a snippet. How do we give ownership to those mobile technicians of the van itself? That's all I'm going to say. I think you guys can read between the lines on that one. But ultimately, there are absolutely different ways to pay these guys. You can pay them based off of upsells if you're basically trying to push obviously the low hanging fruit with wiper cabinet air filters and any kind of fluid system services that you're willing to do out in the field. We're willing to do injection services, brake fluid services, obviously the oil changes and stuff like that. So there's ways to do it. You got to get creative. You got to know how your people are motivated. Obviously, and I agree completely with Ed. We should absolutely stop paying on CSI. It is a requirement to work at the dealership that you're at. No matter what, you take care of our customers, or you just unfortunately don't belong there. Which is mean to say, but that's reality, unfortunately.
I always think of those, 1-800 got junk trucks parked everywhere in every city, right, where they're basically just promoting that. Doesn't really need any explanation, but I think if mobile service got to that where it's like you stand apart from everybody else, everywhere that someone looks, that's a big thing. What do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, part of my promotion, that 6 truck that I'm waiting to put a person in is sitting right outside of my entrance so that they can see it wide open, so they can kind of walk through it if they want to. I couldn't care less. They're not going to take it. They wouldn't know what to do with it when they do take it, but my point is that 6 truck is on display, so people can be like, "What is this?" Well, this is the truck that'll come to you instead of you coming to see me, right? So
there was I think it's a street cleaning truck I saw this morning. The whole truck was transparent, so you could see all the stuff in the truck. Which that was kind of interesting. There were graphics on it, but it was kind of interesting. Amit, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to sort of recap a couple things there, and then just give the sort of pro tip. I will say, from all the dealers that we've worked with, the number one fail, just to be clear, the number one fail is marketing the platform, marketing the fact that you have mobile service. Everybody here has a ton of experience, and we've got advice. They got a ton of experience in this. They were right. They were spot on with, you got a rolling billboard, bottom of every single email, answer the phones differently. How about POP materials, point of purchase materials in the dealership, saying things like, we know that, our coffee is great, but your couch might be better. Just little things to remind them so the next appointment 4 months later is set. Number 2, the pro tip is go service. So when we go out and train a dealership, we usually spend 2 to 3 days with the dealership when we launch. The first 2 or 3 customers are not out there in the field. They are the dealer principal. They're the GSM. They're the GM, and then they're your finance director and your best salespeople. Because I think it was Tony's point earlier, when sales and service handoffs don't happen, when you go service a vehicle from somebody in the sales organization and they feel it, they get that Amazon Prime style experience, they're the first ones that are going to start telling the customers. And they're also probably have a spiff to set that first service appointment. How amazing would it be when they set that first service appointment and they don't even have to come back to the dealership? So servicing the sales department first is actually a really thoughtful way of getting them engaged and getting them to feel the level of service that their customers get. Otherwise, it's one of those things where, I went to the training, but I didn't drive the car. There's a massive difference there. On the pay plan side, our opinion is pretty similar to what you're seeing here. You have to be thoughtful, but you don't have to be, you don't have to create something completely off the Ferris wheel in a sense. Whether or not it's hourly, whether or not it's salary, bonuses, and the bonuses could even be the next appointment, or the neighbor who obviously came by when they saw the van in the cul-de-sac who wanted to book an appointment, and you booked that next appointment also. Some of those cool little tips and tricks work out really well without having to go into the CSI bucket, if you will.
Fantastic. David, what do you think?
Well, as far as the pay plans are concerned, I'm going to leave that to the experts. I think that obviously having a separate pay plan for that is an integral part of the success of any of the mobile service. But what I wanted to add to that was Ed had made a good point about selling cars at a loss and selling cars for a big profit, and that is something I definitely do know about. And I know in the sales world, you want to hold as much gross as you possibly can on every single customer. And then the other side of that coin is you want to get as much volume as you possibly can across the board. And those two don't always mix. In order to get the volume, you can't hold the gross on everybody across the board. So the the goal of every store is to maximize the volume and maximize the gross across the board. And there's got to be some happy medium in between. You're going to need to take some of the short deals as well as the big deals across the board. And I think that as you're looking at pay plans and you're looking at, there's going to be a net expense and there's going to be a driver and there's windshield time and there's going to be appointments that are missed, or there's going to be traffic. There's going to be things that don't come up, but you absolutely need to look at it as being able to get a ton of short deals. That's why dealers do fleet. I mean, they do fleet not because they're making a ton of money on their cars. They're doing it because they're pushing a lot of inventory. And those short deals that you have that you're taking on some of the mobile customers, who knows what they're going to need in the next 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road. And if you're front of mind and you're the vehicle or you are the dealership that they trust, then you are going to have a chance to make up some of that money at some point in time. And with respect to retention, it's invaluable because that's the only way you're going to get these people. You're not going to get them any other way. We do marketing specifically for that, and the marketing can be very successful. It's going to be amplified if you can go to the customer and make them happy. So that is kind of what I wanted to point out, and I think that's relevant across the board.
David, it's because so many service people and so many sales managers don't appreciate the value of a customer over their lifetime and of what you can get out of them as repeat and referral. When you start forgetting that astronomical number, you're dead, because then you forget your whole purpose is to have a profitable business and what each person can bring.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Larry. So what services can't be done? And more importantly, what percentage of service should be mobile? Why don't we start with Amit on this? Throw them both at once. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I gotta take the second one first. We had the analysis, and so the data is pretty concrete. It was about 37% of services that could be completed in the field. So of all of the opcodes that we have downloaded, so we download opcodes from dealerships based on all the work that they do. And then we parse out mobile-friendly opcodes for the dealer so that the customer can book something quickly. It's about 37%. I guess the inverse of that, the simple math on that is 63% shouldn't be done, but that 63% is going to be completely different for every single dealership that you talk to, right? You're going to have some of the dealers that are going to have lightly upfitted vehicles or nimble vehicles, and then you're going to have some dealerships that will have really large ProMasters or Sprinter vans that have tire machines that can do any of those things also. So I think what can't be done is really up to each dealership, and then more probably connected back to the qualifications, the certifications of the technicians, their experience, and the vehicle upfit. But overall, if you think about 40% of the stuff that needs to be done, that sounds about right, especially because of the type of vehicles that are being built today. And if you are in a manufactured space that has EVs also, it's mission critical to get to those customers because they're just not coming back because they don't have to with the products that they drive.
Fantastic. Ed, you have a few mobile service fans. What are your numbers, or what are your real numbers and target numbers?
So I don't necessarily challenge them with target numbers of what we do in field. What I do challenge them is, what if you couldn't say no? And if you couldn't say no, how can we overcome the obstacle of doing something in field? And then I also challenge a lot of dealers when we talk about mobile service. I'll ask, what can we do in field? And I'll tell them to walk through your shop, and absolutely every vehicle that you're working on in your shop that the lift is not set on, but they're working on, you can do in field. And then in addition to that, you can add in about 50% of what they do have on the lift you can do. So other than open up an engine or a transmission or a rear differential, we can do those things in field. And how often are you opening those up in your shop? Yes, you may have one or two that you're doing every single day, but what is that as a percentage? So I think if we embrace this correctly, and we will, mobile service 10 years from now will be the norm, and bringing your vehicle in some form or fashion, whether you drive it in or it's pickup and delivery, will be the exception. And right now it's the other way around, and we have to change that.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Mr. Dice, what do you think?
I think the stats coming from Ford was projected somewhere around 70% of services in the future will be done mobily. I think Ed is spot on with the numbers. If you see it on the ground and it's being worked on by a technician, it's not lifted, it could probably be done in the field, right? At this point in time, I mean, we're going after the low hanging fruit. We're going after the recalls. We're going after the fluid surfaces that we're not having to pull pans off of like transmissions and stuff like that. We're mainly doing the routine maintenance type stuff. Anything more than that right now, outside of brakes, we'll do brakes mobily as well. But other than that, I mean, it's usually coming in the shop after that. But the key here is your inspection process. Your inspection process is really what's going to drive the next step of that next appointment, right? If you do a good inspection and you're noticing an oil leak that needs to get, pulled back into the shop, what is your plan for that for the next visit? Are we absolutely scheduling that back in the shop, and are we utilizing the next part of the customer convenience, which is pick up delivery? I know this is about mobile service, but realistically, this needs to be about the customer's journey from from mobile service to pick up delivery, back to getting it back in shop to recoup the stuff that actually is the bread and butter of the dealerships. Our technicians that absolutely do it well and do it right and get it done and get it back to the customer in a timely manner that's very efficient and very convenient for them, right? So the inspection process, which we hadn't really talked about, is a key KPI, obviously, that we need to be tracking, especially out in the field, so that we're driving the business back to the dealership one way, shape, or form with that other stuff that actually pays the bills.
That makes a lot of sense. David, what do you think?
Well, as far as percentages that can be done, I also will defer and leave that over to the experts as well. I think that as technology increases, that obviously we're going to be able to do more and more and more. And if the industry is moving in that direction across the board, and the OEMs are moving in that direction, and all this momentum is moving in that direction, then we're going to need to be able to handle those additional services across the board from step one. And I think that letting people know up front exactly what's available and setting the stage right away with the vehicles that are being delivered now, new or used, is going to be an integral part of that. And as far as what can be done or what can't be done, if it can't be done mobile, then that's where your pickup and delivery come from. And so listen, some people, there's going to be a majority of the people that come in anyway that are going to continue coming in just out of habit. If they are, you're never going to lose a bunch of that traffic. We're talking about incremental. I mean, this is all incremental. These are people that are on the fence. Are they going to come back? Are they not going to come back? Or maybe they're already gone. And it's also taking your existing customers that are loyal to you and giving them a reason to never consider anybody else across the board. If pricing is fair and the convenience is there, that will happen. So when you combine both, as you roll it out, you have the ability to combine both. I think you cover all of your ends so that you are a complete dealership from that point forward.
Fantastic. And we just got some numbers from Paragon. 69% of Ford recalls are fuel friendly based on Joe Sabino. Final thoughts. We're almost out of time. So let's start with Larry since he hasn't been on in a while. Larry, final thoughts.
I love the concept of every dealer jumping on board with the mobile, but I always harp on the same thing. Treat people in a way that they can't wait to come back. It's not complicated. And it's just too expensive to find new customers, much cheaper and more cost effective to keep the ones you have.
Yep. Thanks for that. Amit, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think we beat a horse here. I think we simplify it back down to just asking your friends and family what they think, and stop comparing ourselves to the automotive industry. Just look at what everybody else is doing out there and make sure that we follow suit.
Fantastic. Ed, final thoughts.
Remove the friction. Let's do business on our customers' terms instead of ours.
Thanks for that. Mr. Dice.
I think the 16-to-1 ratio is a big eye opener for any dealership out there. If you're not 16 times better, like Amit was saying, you should probably evaluate how do you reduce those friction points, like Ed said, and figure out how to gain those people back, because we got a lot of players in the automotive world that is absolutely choking down our business. So we got to be better than what we are.
Fantastic. David.
I think that every dealer's fundamental understanding that that's a lot less expensive to keep somebody that has already done business with you and get them back in the fold is a lot less expensive than trying to go out and capture people that have no idea who you are, where the store is across the board, unless you've got some version of mobile service. But there is a significant difference in the cost of what it takes to conquest a customer versus what it takes to get somebody that used to come to you that knows the way to the store that you just need to get reacquainted with.
And Peter, thank you.
Hey, I just want to thank all of our guests today. You were fantastic. I'm going to leave the dealers with a little tip that I picked up when I was visiting a dealer, and we were talking about pay plans. What they do is they provide a spiff for a new repair order. So while that mobile service van is there, they notice that the customer has another Ford product, which a lot of times they do. They say, hey, Mr. Jones, while I'm here, why don't I take a look at your vehicle and see if there are any open recalls? And they literally put it in the bin, and they can tell the customer while they're there, hey, you happen to have these 2 recalls? I can take care of 1 or 2 of them here, but you may have to come to the dealership for the others. And they spiff the service technician for new ROs, something you may want to just think about for your store.
And next week, we're talking about work-life balance. And if you aren't already aware, the Auto Hub show is going to be part of the CX Auto event in Detroit. It's in collaboration with Automotive News. So if you want details on that show, feel free to reach out or check it out at CX Auto. It's part of the Automotive News conference going on in September in Detroit at GM headquarters. Have yourself a great week.
Actually, Ian,
yeah.
One thing. It's cxautomedia.com.
cxautomedia.com. Yep. And have yourself a great day. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it.
Thanks again
Thanks for having us.
Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for helping the industry get better today live.